Today I'm going to be doing a spoiler-free review of Loving vs. Virginia by Patricia Hruby. Loving vs. Virginia is a documentary style novel that's written in verse, and I believe it's targeted at children, although I will preface this by saying there is sexual scenes that are kind of mentioned. They don't go into too much graphic detail, and there's also some very sensitive topics, so you might want to read this first before you allow your kid to read it. It's a very important read. I ended up giving this book 4 out of 5 stars, and for something that was this short and in verse, which is not something I'm quite accustomed to, that's saying quite a lot. It's about the story of Milford Jutter, who was an African-American woman, and Richard Loving and their marriage, which was illegal in the state of Virginia due to their segregation laws. The story starts in their childhood and it goes all the way up until shortly after the Supreme Court case. One of the things I love is that Millie is such a strong female character, and I like how she's willing to fight with everything she has because she loves her husband and she loves her kids, and ultimately it's her determination and the determinations of the lawyers that help with the outcome. It really talks about the right to love and the right to marriage, and whether or not that's a basic right every human should have, and whether that is considered one of those 3 unalienable rights in terms of the pursuit of happiness. My one complaint is that the characters felt a little flat. I didn't feel them completely rounded. I did a little bit at the end, but it seemed that they were a little bit surface level. But that to say, it was an emotional book, and it delved into the segregation laws, and it mentioned a little bit of the Brown versus Board of Education case, and it brought in some other historical facts. I don't know how historically accurate it was, but I enjoyed it nonetheless. I recommend you give it a go. I read it on the e-reader, but I would recommend, if you could find a physical copy, doing that, because the illustrations are done in color and I saw them in black and white. I don't think it makes too big of a difference. One of the things in there is that they talked about how if Millie had been white and Richard had been black, that their situation would have been much worse, and they mention that a little bit in there. And they also talk about, they show some of the difficulties the African Americans had post-Civil War and into the Civil Rights Movement, and I just really liked it. I hope you guys give it a try and have a good day.